In the early 1900s, New York City was the beating heart of America, a place where ambition touched the sky and progress roared through the streets. But beneath that spirit of modernity stood one of the most magnificent structures ever built in the United States, a building so grand it was called the gateway to a city. This was Pennsylvania Station, a cathedral of steel and stone that welcomed millions of travelers, immigrants, and dreamers. It was more than a train station. It was a symbol of America's confidence, and later, a symbol of its carelessness. Because what rose as a triumph of human imagination was destroyed by it. The dream of a gateway. The story of Penn Station begins with a man, Alexander Cassatt, president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. At the turn of the 20th century, Cassatt faced a problem. His mighty railroad empire stretched across America, but it stopped short of Manhattan. Trains could reach New Jersey, but not the island itself. Passengers had to disembark and cross the Hudson River by ferry. To Cassatt, this was unacceptable. He wanted a direct link, tunnels under the Hudson, and at their end, a terminal worthy of the Pennsylvania Railroad's prestige. It was a bold dream, one that many engineers said was impossible. The riverbed was unstable, the currents fierce. But Cassatt was relentless. He gathered some of the brightest minds of the era, engineers, architects, and craftsmen, to bring his vision to life. The chosen designers were the legendary firm McKim, Mead & White, known for their classical grandeur. Their task, to build not just a train station, but a monument to civilization itself. A cathedral for the common man. Construction began in 1904 and continued for nearly a decade. Beneath the Hudson River, workers labored in dangerous, suffocating conditions to carve twin tunnels for the trains. Above ground, a city of steel columns and pink granite slowly rose over Manhattan's west side. When Pennsylvania Station finally opened in 1910, it was breathtaking. The facade stretched over 2 full city blocks, a colonnade of massive Roman columns, evoking the temples of ancient Rome. Inside, sunlight poured through iron and glass vaults nearly 150 feet high. The main waiting room was inspired by the baths of Caracalla, vast, echoing, and timeless. It was said that one entered the city like a god. For millions of ordinary travelers, workers, soldiers, immigrants, Penn Station offered a sense of dignity and wonder. You could buy a ticket for a few dollars and find yourself standing beneath ceilings higher than any cathedral in America. It was public space on a monumental scale, and it belonged to everyone. The golden age of rail. Through the 1910s, 1920s, and into the 1930s, Penn Station thrived. It was the heart of the Pennsylvania Railroad, the world's largest transportation company at the time. Trains departed for Chicago, St. Louis, Washington, and beyond. Soldiers in uniform kissed their loved ones goodbye under the vaulted ceilings before heading off to war. Celebrities and politicians passed through daily, their footsteps echoing across marble floors. The station wasn't just a terminal, it was a stage for American life. But as the decades passed, a shadow began to fall. The slow decline. After World War II, America's love affair with the automobile, and later, the airplane, began to change everything. Passenger rail declined dramatically. The once powerful Pennsylvania Railroad found itself drowning in debt. The cost of maintaining Penn Station's immense structure, heating, cleaning, and staffing, was overwhelming. By the 1950s, what was once a shining monument now felt like a burden. The marble had lost its polish. The vast waiting rooms echoed with fewer footsteps. The golden age of rail travel was fading, and so too was Penn Station's glory. A national tragedy. In 1962, the Pennsylvania Railroad made a shocking decision. To save money, they would demolish the station, sell the air rights, and build a modern office complex and a new Madison Square Garden on top. It was a decision driven by desperation, not vision. The public's reaction was one of disbelief. Newspapers ran editorials pleading to save the station. Architects, historians, and ordinary New Yorkers protested in the streets. But their voices were drowned out by the sound of progress and the rumble of bulldozers. In October 1963, demolition began. For 3 years, workers tore apart the iron arches and marble columns. Sculptures were hauled away and dumped into the meadowlands of New Jersey. Dust filled the air. Commuters passed by daily, watching one of the world's greatest landmarks disappear piece by piece. A reporter wrote, "We will probably be judged not by the monuments we build, but by those we destroy." And as the last fragments of pink granite fell, New York lost more than a building, it lost part of its soul. The birth of preservation, the destruction of Penn Station sparked a cultural awakening. Americans realized that their architectural heritage, the very symbols of their identity, could vanish overnight. From that anger and regret, a new movement was born, historic preservation. In 1965, New York City established the Landmarks Preservation Commission, ensuring that other treasures, like Grand Central Terminal, would never face the same fate. When developers later tried to demolish Grand Central, the case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The city won. Penn Station's death had not been in vain. A different station, a fading memory, what replaced the old station was practical, but soulless, a dark, underground complex hidden beneath offices and an arena. Millions still passed through each day, but few looked up, because there was nothing to see. For decades, New Yorkers mourned what they had lost, the light, the space, the grandeur. Photos of the old Penn Station hung in museums and coffee table books, reminders of a time when public architecture inspired awe. But the dream didn't end completely. In recent years, efforts have been made to restore some of that lost glory. The new Moynihan Train Hall, opened in 2021, transformed part of the old post office across the street into a modern, light-filled terminal, a nod to the station that once stood tall. Still, for those who remember, the wound remains. Legacy of a lost cathedral. Today, when we see photographs of the original Penn Station, its arches bathed in sunlight, its vast halls echoing with footsteps, we can't help but feel a sense of wonder and sorrow. It reminds us that progress, if careless, can destroy the very beauty that defines us. Penn Station's story isn't just about architecture. It's about memory, about what we choose to keep, and what we let slip away. And though the building is gone, its spirit endures, in every historic landmark we fight to protect, and in every photograph that captures the light of a vanished world. They say a city's greatness isn't just measured by what it builds but by what it chooses to preserve. Penn Station may have vanished from the skyline, but its story still echoes in the tunnels below Manhattan, in the voices of commuters rushing through its shadow, and in the lessons it left behind. From its ashes rose a movement, one that taught America to protect its past, so future generations could understand where they came from. Because when we tear down history, we don't just lose bricks and stone, we lose a piece of ourselves.